The galaxy was full of rules. Some were written in stone, some in blood, and some in fire. But only one law was never broken. Only one law was whispered in every starport, taught in every academy, and remembered by every species. Never harm human children. It was not just a rule. It was survival. Every empire in the galaxy knew the story. Long ago, during the first expansion wars, an alien race thought humans were weak. They captured human children to break their spirit. They thought the humans would surrender. Instead, the opposite happened. The humans did not surrender. They burned. They burned worlds, fleets, and armies. They fought with a rage no other species understood. Entire empires were erased, not because humans wanted conquest, but because someone dared to harm their children. When the smoke cleared, the galaxy understood. This law was sacred. For centuries, peace held. The Council of Galactic Unity made sure of it. They governed with strict rules, enforced with fleets larger than any one empire. And at the top of their laws, carved into shining metal above the council hall, was a phrase every alien feared. The blood of human children shall never be spilled. No one ever broke it. No one dared. Until now. The news came quietly, like a whisper in the void. At first, it was just a missing signal. A transport ship carrying 200 human children on a cultural exchange program had sent a distress call. The message was cut short after 12 seconds. Then silence. At first, people thought it was pirates. The galaxy was full of them, scavengers lurking at the edge of lawless systems. But then rumors began to spread. A council warship was seen near the transport's last location. Too close. Too silent. On the human colony of Hose 3, parents waited by the docks. They stared at the stars, waiting for the ship to return. Days passed. No ship came. When the message from Earth arrived, it carried only 5 words. The children are missing. And the galaxy trembled. Across alien worlds, leaders met in secret. Old memories rose in their minds. They remembered what happened the last time. They remembered the cities turned to ash, the fleet shattered, the armies that ran and begged. One counselor whispered, "If this is true, if the council itself touched the children, then we are all doomed." But the council denied it. They stood before the cameras, their voices smooth, their faces calm. "It was pirates," they said. "We have no part in this." Yet, in the shadows of space, human ships began to move. Silent fleets left their docks. No speeches. No declarations of war. Just the cold, efficient preparation of a species that had sworn never to allow this crime again. The aliens watched with fear. They saw the old flagships leave orbit, the same ones that had crushed empires in the past. They remembered the one truth of history. When humans believe their children are in danger, nothing can stop them. On Hose 3, a father named Elias stood in his workshop, holding a small carved toy. His daughter had given it to him before boarding the transport. She was only 7 years old. Now, she was gone. Elias did not cry. He did not scream. He simply placed the toy in his pocket, closed his workshop, and walked to the spaceport. He was not a soldier, not a pilot, not an officer. But like millions of other humans across the colonies, he was ready. The galaxy thought humans fought for power. They were wrong. Humans fought for love. And there was no greater love than the love for their children. On the council world of Erethan, the High Chancellor sat in his chamber, watching the reports. Human fleets were moving faster than expected. Worlds near the border had gone dark. Trade routes were empty. "Do you understand what you have done?" one advisor asked him. "They will come for us. They will not stop." The Chancellor's eyes were cold. He whispered, "They will not find the children, and without proof, they cannot touch us." But even he trembled when he remembered the old stories. In the deep void, far from any star, a human admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship. His face was carved with age and scars. He remembered the last war. He had sworn never to see it again. But as the reports came in, his voice was quiet, steady, unshaken. "Prepare the fleets," he said. "We find them. We bring them back. Or we burn the galaxy to the ground." The bridge was silent. No one questioned him. They all knew the truth. This was not war for land. This was not war for resources. This was the oldest kind of war, the war of parents. And in the cold silence of space, every alien who heard the whispers knew the same thought. The law has been broken. The humans are coming. The distress signal lasted only 12 seconds. 12 seconds of static, broken voices, and the sound of children screaming. Then silence. On the starship Aurora's light, carrying 200 human children, the lights went out. Sensors showed nothing unusual. No ships appeared on long-range scans. No weapons fire was detected. Yet, when rescue patrols finally arrived, the ship was gone. Not destroyed. Not broken. Just vanished. The only trace left behind was a faint echo of the emergency beacon. The children were gone. Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Alien networks repeated the same headline: human transport missing. No survivors found. To the rest of the galaxy, it sounded like tragedy. To humanity, it sounded like war. Parents cried out for answers. On Earth, crowds filled the streets outside the United Nations spire. Mothers held signs with the names of their missing children. Fathers shouted at the cameras, "Bring them back, or bring us war." The Council of Galactic Unity held an emergency broadcast. Their spokesman, with calm alien faces, spoke carefully chosen words. "We mourn with humanity. This was the work of pirates. We have no involvement. Our fleets will assist in the search." But humanity had already seen the first reports. A freighter captain swore he saw a Council warship near the transport's last known location. Another trader claimed to have heard strange encrypted Council signals minutes before the beacon cut off. It was too much to be coincidence, and the humans did not believe in coincidence. In the great halls of the Martian Fleet Command, admirals studied the data. The room was silent except for the hum of projectors showing star maps. Red dots marked every place where Council ships had been seen. The lines pointed straight to one conclusion. Admiral Kalen, an old soldier with ice in his voice, broke the silence. They did this. The other commanders did not argue. No one needed proof. Not anymore. The Council had crossed the one law the galaxy swore never to break. Meanwhile, across alien worlds, whispers spread like fire. On the trade moon of Cora, merchants closed their stores early, muttering in fear. "The humans will come," they said. "When their children are threatened, they do not forgive." On the water-world of Seluan, an old warrior remembered the last war. His scaled hands shook as he told his son, "Pray this is a lie. Pray the Council is innocent. Because if not, no star will be safe." The galaxy had seen this before. They knew what followed. Back on Earth, in a quiet home by the sea, a mother named Mara sat at a table, clutching a picture of her twin sons. They had been on Aurora's light. She could still hear their laughter from the day they left, still feel their small hands as they waved goodbye. When the news of the Council's denial played on her screen, she did not cry. She only whispered one word: "Liars." In the void, humanity prepared. The shipyards of Titan lit up the dark skies as fleets were armed. Old war machines, long sealed away in museums, were reactivated. Engines roared, guns gleamed, and soldiers stood in lines, ready to move. No speeches were given. No songs were sung. Humanity did not need them. They had only one mission: bring back the children. And if they could not, then vengeance would follow. The Council continued their denials. It was pirates, they repeated. Humanity must remain calm. But their words were shaking. Deep in their chambers, the counselors knew the truth. They had authorized a mission in secret. They thought humanity had grown soft. They thought the law was just an old legend. Now they realized a mistake. Because humanity was moving. And when humanity moved, nothing stood in their way. On the bridge of the flagship Iron Resolve, Admiral Kalen stood before his officers. His voice was low, steady, deadly calm. "Send word to every fleet. Quietly. No fanfare. No broadcasts. We find the children. If they are alive, we bring them home. If they are not..." He paused, and the entire crew leaned closer. "Then the Council will burn." The officers saluted, not with joy, but with grim silence. They all understood, and so the galaxy held its breath. In one corner, the Council sat in denial, their hands shaking as they clung to lies. In another, humanity sharpened its blades, not caring for politics, not caring for excuses. 200 children were missing. 200 small voices had been silenced. And in the vast emptiness between stars, the oldest truth in history awoke again. When humans rise for their children, the galaxy trembles. The galaxy remembered. The last time humans rose in anger, 5 empires were erased. Entire star systems burned. Fleets of thousands crushed into silence. That war had ended more than 200 years ago, but its scars were still carved into planets, moons, and hearts. Now, with 200 human children missing, whispers returned like ghosts in the dark. Across alien markets, military outposts, and council chambers, one question repeated again and again. Is it happening again? On the frozen world of Acreon, where merchants traded rare minerals, business stopped. Traders abandoned their stores. Ships lifted off in a hurry, not waiting for permits. One old merchant, his skin pale and scaled, shook his head at a young apprentice. "You are too young to remember," the merchant said. "But I saw it. I saw their fleets come. Silent, cold, efficient. They do not conquer. They do not enslave. They destroy. And all because someone harmed their children." The apprentice asked softly, "But the council says it was pirates." The merchant spat. "Pirates? No pirate would dare. No pirate would live. Only fools in the council could be so blind. Mark my words, when the humans find proof, no world will be safe." In the great council chambers of Erython, panic brewed behind closed doors. The High Chancellor demanded silence as his advisers argued. "They will not act without evidence," one counselor insisted. "We destroyed the transport logs. We silenced the crew. Humanity has nothing." Another counselor slammed his clawed hand on the table. "You fool! They don't need evidence. They need belief, and they already believe us guilty." The High Chancellor's voice cut through the shouting. "Calm, cold, certain. Let them prepare. Let them rattle their fleets. Humanity will not dare strike the council directly. They value order too much." But his eyes flickered with doubt, for he too remembered the stories. Meanwhile, the human fleets were not rattling sabers. They were moving. On the shipyards of Luna, engineers worked without sleep, reforging old warships with new weapons. On Mars, soldiers drilled in silence, their faces grim. Across the colonies, fathers and mothers who had never lifted a weapon signed their name for service. There were no speeches, no declarations. There was only purpose. The mission was not conquest, not glory, not even revenge. It was something far stronger. It was love. On the alien moon of Selyuan, deep in a fishing village, an old war veteran sat by the fire. His grandchildren played nearby, their laughter echoing against the waves. The old one's eyes were hollow as he stared at the night sky. His eldest son asked, "Why are you so quiet, father?" The old veteran's voice was like stone. "Because I remember. I was there when the humans unleashed their fury. I saw them fight until the stars bled. I saw empires collapse under their wrath. And I swore I would never see it again." The son frowned. "Do you fear for us?" The old man nodded. "If the council truly touch their children, then the galaxy will drown in fire. And this time, not even the council will survive." Far away, in the hidden chambers of the council, orders were given. Secret fleets were moved to protect their core worlds. Data trails were erased, files burned, witnesses silenced. But no matter how carefully they hid, humanity's shadow was already moving through the stars. The first outpost near council space went dark. At first, aliens thought it was communication failures. Then debris fields were found. Wreckage burned quietly in orbit, no survivors, no distress calls. It was surgical, precise, terrifying. The humans were testing their strength, sending a message. The law had been broken. Now the punishment would follow. On the bridge of the flagship Iron Resolve, Admiral Kalen received the reports. His officers stood silent, waiting. The old man studied the maps, his eyes filled with memories of wars long past. Finally, he spoke. "Do the council fear us yet?" "Yes, Admiral," his second-in-command replied. "They whisper in their chambers. They deny with their mouths, but their hearts are afraid. Kalen's lips curved into something not quite a smile. Good. They should fear. Fear is the only thing they understand. But it will not save them. Not this time. He turned to his crew. Prepare for the next phase. We find the truth. We find the children. And if they are harmed, his voice grew colder than the void outside. Then the galaxy burns. And so, across the stars, silence grew heavy. Markets emptied. Fleets hid in their docks, and worlds prayed to old gods. Because the whispers were true. The law was broken. The children were gone. And humanity was rising. The council outpost went silent without a sound. One moment, it was alive, lights flashing, scanners sweeping, alien voices echoing across the comms. The next, it was gone. No warning. No distress call. Only wreckage drifting in the dark, cut apart with terrifying precision. The survivors? None. Every species in the galaxy knew who was responsible. No pirates could strike like that. No mercenaries could be so clean, so exact. Only one fleet fought that way. The humans. In the council chambers, the High Chancellor received the report with shaking hands. He read the words 3 times, hoping they would change. But the message remained the same. Outpost destroyed. Evidence of human weapons fire. No survivors. The councillors shouted in panic. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others begged for diplomacy. But in their hearts, they all knew the truth. Humanity had begun. Admiral Kalen stood on the bridge of the flagship Iron Resolve, his face carved from stone. Before him floated the remains of the council outpost. Pieces of twisted metal drifted slowly across the void, glowing faintly from the heat of precision strikes. His crew watched in silence, waiting for orders. Kalen's voice was low, steady, the voice of a man who had seen too many wars. "This is only the beginning," he said. "The council will deny. They will lie. But every outpost they lose will remind them. Return the children, or we burn everything they hold." The officers nodded. None spoke. There was nothing more to say. On the outer colonies, alien merchants closed their businesses. Refugees filled ships, fleeing from council space. They remembered the stories of the last war, and they wanted no part of the next one. A trader on the rim muttered to his crew. The humans warned them. Everyone knows the law. Everyone. But the council crossed the line. Now the humans won't stop. Not until their children are safe, or every council world is ash. The crew shivered. None argued. The council tried to control the story. They broadcast on every channel. It was not humanity, they claimed. It was sabotage, terrorism. Humanity is innocent. But no one believed them. Not even their own soldiers. Too many had seen the truth. Too many had already guessed what would happen next. And deep down, everyone feared the same thing. If humans were only beginning, what would the ending look like? Meanwhile, human fleets moved in silence. There were no grand declarations, no dramatic speeches. Humanity did not waste time with words. Their actions spoke louder than any broadcast. Old warships, some over 2 centuries old, were reforged and sent to front. New ships slipped out of hidden docks, armed with weapons no alien had ever seen. Every ship carried the same silent oath. Bring back the children, or bring war. In the quiet colony of Carthose 3, Elias, the father who had lost his daughter, watched the skies. He was no soldier, yet he volunteered to join the fleet. He was not alone. Across Earth, Mars, Titan, and the colonies, thousands of grieving parents, brothers, and sisters took the oath. The galaxy thought humans were strong because of their technology, but it was not machines that gave them power. It was their hearts, their refusal to let go. And now, every heart burned with the same fire. Inside a secret chamber on the council's capital, the High Chancellor met with his closest advisors. His voice shook as he asked a question no one wanted to hear. How many outposts have we lost? The answer was quiet, almost whispered. 5, Chancellor. All on the border. All destroyed the same way. The Chancellor's claws dug into the table. How can they strike so fast? Another advisor answered, his voice heavy with dread. Because they are human. Because when their children are taken, they do not wait. They do not bargain. They strike. The chamber fell silent. On the bridge of Iron Resolve, Admiral Kalen received a message from intelligence officers. The humans had captured a council scientist during a raid. He carried secrets, dark ones. Kalen studied the message, his eyes narrowing. "So it is true," he whispered. "This was no accident. The council took them. The children are alive, for now." His crew waited for his command. Kalen raised his head, his voice like iron. "Then we hunt every fortress, every lab, every hidden base, until we find them. And if the council stands in our way, we erase them." And across the stars, fear spread like wildfire. The first strikes were over. The humans had drawn blood. Now, the galaxy waited, holding its breath, because everyone knew this was only the beginning. The storm was coming. The prisoner trembled in his chair. His hands were bound, his eyes wide with fear. He was not afraid of the humans standing around him. He was afraid of the truth he carried. Admiral Kalen leaned forward, his shadow falling across the room. His voice was calm, but sharp as steel. "Tell me where they are." The prisoner swallowed hard. He was a council scientist, captured during the last raid. For hours he had stayed silent, refusing to speak. But now, as the humans closed in, his resolve broke. "It was not pirates," he whispered. "The council ordered it. They wanted the children." The room went still. Every officer froze. Kalen's eyes narrowed. "Why?" The scientist's voice cracked. They wanted to study them, to unlock what makes humans so unbreakable. They think your strength comes from your children, from the bond you carry. They wanted to use it, to control it. The silence grew heavier than the void outside. "They are alive," the scientist added quickly. "The children are alive, but if the experiments continue," his voice faltered, "then they will not remain human for long." The revelation spread through the fleet like fire. On every ship, every outpost, soldiers whispered the same words. The council took them. The council is experimenting on them. Rage grew like a storm. Soldiers clenched their fists. Parents who had joined the fleets wept in silence. For centuries, the law had protected them. Now the council itself had shattered it. And the humans swore, with one voice, that the council would pay. Across alien worlds, the news could not be contained. Traders carried rumors from system to system. Governments tried to deny it, but the whispers were too strong. On the desert world of Ravik, an alien governor asked his advisors, "If this is true, if the council has broken the law?" The advisors' scales quivered. "Then the galaxy is finished. Humanity will not stop, not until every last child is returned, or every last council world is ash." Admiral Kalen stood before his officers, the prisoner's words still echoing in his mind. He looked at the faces of his crew, hard, determined, unshaken. "They thought they could use our children as tools," he said quietly. "They thought they could cut them open and learn our strength." His fists tightened, but they forgot the truth. Our strength is not in our blood. It is in our hearts. And now, every heart beats for vengeance. His voice rose, carrying across the bridge. "We will find this facility. We will tear it apart. And we will bring them home." The crew roared in answer, not with joy, but with fury. In the secret chambers of the council, fear boiled. The High Chancellor shouted at his generals. How did they find out? The generals shifted nervously. None dared meet his eyes. "It was a scientist," one finally admitted. "He was taken in the raids. He betrayed us." The Chancellor's claws scratched the table. "Then kill him. Kill anyone who knows. Burn the evidence. Humanity cannot find the fortress." But deep inside, he knew it was already too late. Humans did not need maps. They did not need proof. They would search every star, every rock, every shadow of the galaxy until they found their children. Back on Earth, parents marched in silence through the streets. They carried candles, not weapons, but their faces burned with the same fire as the fleets. Every step was a promise. Bring them back. It was not a plea. It was an order, and humanity always obeyed when the order came from its own heart. The scientist, broken, pale, terrified, gave one last piece of information before the humans sent him away. "The facility is hidden near a dying star," he whispered. "It is guarded by weapons stolen from across the galaxy. They think no one can reach it." He looked up, his voice trembling. "If you do not move soon, the experiments will change them. The children will not return the same." Admiral Kalen stared into the dark of the stars. His voice was iron. "Then we move now." The galaxy shivered as fleets shifted again. Human ships gathered, larger than any force seen in centuries. Their movements were silent, but their intent was clear. The Council had crossed the line. And now, nothing would stop the storm. The dying star bled light across the void. Its surface boiled with fire, its corona twisting like claws. No ships dared to come near this cursed system, except one. Hidden deep in the star's burning shadow, scanners revealed a fortress. It was massive. Black metal spires stretched like knives, wrapped in shields stolen from half a dozen empires. Cannons lined its hull, each one powerful enough to break a fleet. And inside, locked away in its heart, were the missing human children. The Black Fortress. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Admiral Kalen studied the image. The fortress rotated slowly on his screen, its shields glowing faintly with stolen alien tech. His officers shifted nervously, their faces grim. "They built it from everything they've stolen," one whispered. "Council tech, Dominion armor, even our own designs. It's a fortress built from lies." Kalen's voice was steady. "It doesn't matter how strong it is. Our children are inside." The room fell silent. No one questioned him. The Council had believed the fortress unbreakable. It was hidden in a dying system, protected by weapons from every corner of the galaxy. Its location was erased from every star map, guarded by fleets and buried in silence. But nothing could stay hidden from humanity's fury. They had found it, and now they were coming. Across the galaxy, alien leaders trembled as the news spread. On the merchant world of Korra, traders whispered, "The humans know." They found the fortress. On the warrior planet of Trell, old veterans muttered, "If they take it, the Council will fall." And on quiet farming moons, civilians packed their bags, fearing that the storm would sweep across every star. For everyone knew the truth. When humanity set its eyes on something, nothing in the galaxy could keep it from their grasp. Back on Earth, the marches grew. Parents carried torches, lighting the night skies. Across colonies, screens played only one message: bring them back. The people did not ask for diplomacy. They did not ask for peace. They demanded action. And in the dark, the fleets answered. Inside the fortress itself, the halls were cold and silent. Alien guard patrolled in armor of black steel, their faces hidden behind masks. Behind reinforced walls, the children waited. Some were afraid. Some cried. But others sat quietly, their eyes hard, their voices steady. They were human children, frightened, yes, but unbroken. In a dark chamber, scientists worked with stolen machines, scanning the children, drawing blood, muttering to themselves about genes and resilience. They thought they were unlocking humanity's strength. They did not know they were building their own destruction. On the Iron Resolve, Admiral Kalen stood before his officers. A star map hovered in the air, showing the fortress and its defenses. "We strike here," he said, pointing to the shield generators. "Without them, their fortress burns." One officer frowned. "Their fleet is larger than ours. Their weapons are stronger. We may not survive." Kalen's voice was like iron. "Survival is not the goal. Victory is. And victory means our children live." The officers nodded. They knew the cost. They accepted it. In the hidden council chambers, the High Chancellor finally broke. He slammed his claws on the table, his voice rising in panic. "They found it. How? How can they move so fast?" No one answered. No one dared. He whispered the words no counselor had spoken in centuries. "We should not have touched them. We should never have touched the children." But it was too late. The fortress was built. The experiments had begun. And the humans were coming. On the edge of the dying star, fleets gathered. Hundreds of human warships floated in the void, engines burning like sparks of fury. Old battleships, new carriers, stealth cruisers, all armed, all ready. Silence filled the comms. No speeches, No cries for glory. Just a heavy, unshakable will of a people united. On the flagship, Kalen gave the final order. His voice was calm, steady, unbroken. Prepare for war. And across the fleet, lights came alive, weapons charged, engines roared. The storm had found its target. The Black Fortress would fall. The first shot split the void. A blinding beam of energy cut through space, slamming into the shields of the Iron Resolve. The ship shook, alarms howled, and fire lit the hull. But the humans did not turn back. They had found the Black Fortress, and now they would break it. The battle began like thunder. Dozens of Council warships rose from the fortress like a swarm of blades, their engines burning, weapons screaming. Cannons fired, missiles streaked, beams cut across the dark. The dying star burned behind it all, painting the battlefield red and gold. And into that firestorm, the humans charged. Admiral Kalen stood tall on the bridge, his face hard as steel. Forward, he ordered, break their line. We will reach the fortress, no matter the cost. The fleet roared into the fray. The first clash was brutal. Human destroyers darted between the larger enemy ships, firing torpedoes into their bellies. Frigates burned, exploding into clouds of fire. But the Council ships answered with brutal force. One human cruiser was cut in half, its crew lost in seconds. Yet still, the humans pressed forward. Because every ship carried the same truth in their hearts. The children are inside. From the fortress, cannons the size of towers opened fire. Massive beams of energy tore through the void, carving paths of destruction. One beam hit a human carrier, ripping through its hangar bays. Fighters spilled out, some destroyed instantly, others igniting their engines to keep fighting even as their mothership died. Inside those tiny fighters, pilots gritted their teeth and pushed harder. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but they were human, and that meant they would not yield. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Kalen's officers called out damage reports. Shields were failing. Hull plating was cracking. "Admiral, we cannot hold this line forever," one shouted. Kalen's eyes burned as he stared at the fortress. "We don't need forever, just long enough to break their shield generators." He pointed to the map. "Send the boarding teams. Get our people inside." Across the fleet, boarding pods were launched, armored spears streaking through the void. They tore past enemy fire, many destroyed before they could land. But some made it. They slammed into the fortress walls, claws digging into black metal. Doors blew open, and humans stormed inside. The fortress halls shook with gunfire. Human marines, armored and unflinching, tore through alien guards. Grenades thundered. Doors fell. The fortress echoed with war cries that carried through the smoke. "Find the children." Every squad repeated the same words. That was the mission. That was the only mission. Inside a cold lab, a group of children huddled together. They could hear the battle rumbling through the walls. The lights flickered. Somewhere above, an explosion roared. One child whispered, "They are coming for us." Another asked, "How do you know?" The first child smiled weakly, eyes shining with stubborn hope, because they are human, and humans never leave their own behind. Back in space, the battle raged at its peak. Human battleships smashed through the enemy lines, their guns tearing open alien hulls. But the cost was heavy. Ships burned, crews lost, names added to the endless list of sacrifice. Still, the humans pressed forward. Kalen's voice carried across the comms. "No retreat. No mercy. Today, we take back what is ours." And the fleet obeyed. Deep inside the fortress, the boarding squads fought their way through endless corridors. Doors slammed shut, traps exploded, enemy soldiers poured in from every side. But the Marines pushed forward, step by step, fueled not by orders, but by rage and love. At last, one squad burst into the central chamber. Their commander froze. Rows of pods lined the walls. Inside each pod was a child, sleeping, alive. But above them, alien scientists scrambled at controls. Machines hummed, syringes filled, wires sparked. The experiments had already begun. The Marines raised their weapons. "Step away from them. Now." Outside, the fortress shields flickered, weakened by the fleet's relentless assault. Sparks danced across its surface. For the first time, its defenses wavered. The Council fleet pulled back, trying to regroup, but it was too late. The storm was inside, on the bridge of the Iron Resolve. Kalen's eyes narrowed as he saw the fortress shield collapse. He whispered, not to his crew, but to himself, "They are coming home." The Marines stood frozen. Before them, rows of pods glowed with cold light. Each pod held a child, still alive, but surrounded by wires, machines, and alien hands. One scientist screamed, slamming his claw on the console. Alarm shrieked. Steel doors sealed shut, locking the humans inside. A voice echoed through the chamber, deep and cruel. "You should not have come here." The High Chancellor himself appeared on the holoscreen, his eyes burning with fury. "These children are the key to everything. You think they belong to you? No, they belong to the future." The Marines raised their weapons. Their commander spat on the floor. They belong to humanity. And then the shooting began. Gunfire tore through the chamber. Alien guards stormed in from hidden passages, weapons blazing. The Marines answered with grenades and rifles, cutting them down. Sparks flew. Pods cracked. The children inside stirred, their eyes flickering open. "Stay down," one Marine shouted, shielding a pod with his own body. Blood hit the floor, but the soldier did not fall. He kept firing, screaming, "No one touches them." In orbit, the Iron Resolve burned. Enemy ships closed in from every side. Human vessels, scarred and battered, held the line. On the bridge, Admiral Kalen gripped the rail as the ship shook under another blast. "Admiral, the fleet can't hold much longer," an officer cried. Kalen's voice was calm, steady. "They don't need to. They just need to hold until the children are free." He turned to his crew, his eyes hard. "We are the last line. If the fortress falls, humanity falls. So we do not break." And across the fleet, every captain gave the same order. "Hold." Inside the fortress, the Marines reached the pods. They smashed controls, tore out wires, and freed the children one by one. Little hands clung to armored gloves. Small voices whispered, "Are we safe?" The commander knelt, his helmet scarred, his armor bleeding sparks. "You're safe now. We're taking you home." But the Chancellor's voice thundered again, louder, filled with hate. "No, you are not." From the shadows, a giant machine stepped forward, a war construct, built from the stolen tech of a dozen worlds. Cannons bristled across its frame, and its glowing eyes locked on the children. None of them leave. The Marines opened fire. Bullets sparked off the machine's armor. Rockets slammed into its chest, shaking it but not breaking it. The construct raised its arm, firing a beam that vaporized half the chamber. The commander shouted over the roar, "Get the children out! Now!" Marines formed a shield wall, standing between the machine and the pods. One by one, children were carried away through broken doors, escorted by soldiers who would rather die than let them fall again. The machine advanced. The Marines held. And they did not break. In orbit, the Iron Resolve shuddered. Systems failed. Fire spread. An officer turned to Kalen, fear in his voice. "If we stay, we die." Kalen stayed at the burning fortress. "Then we die." He raised his voice across the comms, reaching every human ship. "This is our stand. The children are almost free. Hold the line, no matter the cost." And the fleet answered, not with fear, but with fire. Ships rammed enemy vessels, detonating in flames. Fighters threw themselves into enemy cannons to shield the carriers. Humanity's fury burned brighter than the dying star itself. Deep in the fortress, the Marines finally brought down the machine. Rockets tore through its core, ripping it apart in a firestorm. Its body collapsed in flames, and the last alien guard fell silent. The commander looked back. Every pod was empty. Every child was safe. "Mission complete," he whispered. His armor was broken, his voice faint, but his eyes still burned. "Take them home." The boarding teams carried the children to the pods, launching them into space. Human ships caught them in tractor beams, pulling them aboard. Cheers broke out across the fleet as the first child stepped onto a human deck. Tears filled the eyes of hardened soldiers. Engineers, pilots, medics, all dropped to their knees as the children walked among them. The law of the galaxy had been broken, but humanity had restored it with fire and blood. On the bridge of the Iron Resolve, Kalen finally allowed himself a single breath of relief. "They are safe," an officer whispered. Kalen nodded, but his eyes did not soften. He stared at the burning fortress, his voice low, heavy with promise. "The Council wanted to know what makes us strong. Now they know." Outside, the fortress cracked apart, explosions ripping through its frame. The dying star swallowed it whole, burning it to ash. The galaxy would never be the same. Billions watched the broadcasts. They saw the children rescued. They saw the fortress fall. And they saw the price humanity had paid. Every species now understood. There was only one law in the stars that could never be broken. Never harm human children. And if that law was crossed again, the galaxy knew exactly what would come. Humanity would rise. Humanity would fight. And humanity would win.